All over the United States, there are havens of craftsmanship, places where leather book bindings are hand-stitched and hand-sewn, workshops where exquisite marquetry is done. Hello, my name is Theo Parkin, and I'm the staff gemologist of the Britannia House Company. Today, I'd like to take you on a tour of just such a place. It is Koop Diamond Cutters in downtown Cincinnati, where we shall see how custom design masters are made, how damaged diamonds are recut, how rings are cast, and how diamonds are mounted. We're now standing at the diamond wheel, which is where, after all, Koop Diamond Cutters got its original name. And the cutter today is Chris Craig. He has a damaged diamond on the wheel and is recutting it. Damaged diamonds are not the only thing that are recut in here. Sometimes people submit old European or old minor cuts, which are old style with a very high crown and not acceptable by modern standards. So when Craig has to recut those, he has to take off quite a lot of weight. Diamonds are submitted here for recutting by people who have damaged them, by people who have damaged them and claimed the insurance, and the insurance company submits the diamond for recoverable weight. And it is submitted also by people who want to remount diamonds, which is where the old minor case arises. Now, you receive diamonds for recutting here, Chris, from all over the United States, isn't that right? Mm-hmm. And if the diamond comes in, you assess the amount of damage, exactly what you're going to do to it, and then you mount it in these magic instruments. Would you care to show me on one of these how you would set up a diamond?
Certainly. This is a top tang, as it's called, and the stone sits in a pot and is held by this finger, it's called, on top. Now, to get the straightness of the facet where you want it, it moves back and forth.
I see.
Okay.
What about the angle?
The angle is controlled by this knob here, and it turns the whole apparatus.
I see.
To move the stone turns in increments. Rotates in increments. So you get the facet basically where you want it, and then you fine-tune where you want it with this.
I see. You are actually cutting that right now.
Right.
When it goes on there, although we can't pick up the sound here, it does actually sing happily.
Sure.
And if you meet something wrong in the diamond, like a tiny included crystal or a feather or something like that, it will start screaming at you and let you know that all is not well.
Oh, certainly. You know when you hit something.
Okay. I wonder if we can see it on the wheel there.
Now, this is the cutting ring. And as it cuts, lines form on the facet. Okay, this isn't cutting there, so I'll turn the instrument this way to see if it cuts in this position, which it does. Now I can adjust this slightly to adjust the angle that the diamond is cutting on the wheel. So once the facet is just about cut, it's placed in this outer ring and moved back and forth.
Why?
Smooth off the lines that are formed when you're cutting. Now, this particular facet is a brillianteering facet, so it's very small, not much material is taken away. So it spend a lot of time cutting and picking up the stone and looking at through the loop to see if it's formed right. Yeah, it takes very little time to cut these facets.
The major facets are the blocking facets, right? Which are comparatively large and coarse, comparatively.
Right.
Well, this is fascinating. I mean, I know the theory behind all this as a gemologist, but I've never actually cut one. And I bet I would make an unholy mess out of it if I did.
It does take some time, practice, and patience. Certainly not for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I'm sure you're a very valuable member of the Koop team. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Now tell me, Marcy, how do you manage to look winsome and diligent both at the same time?
Oh, I wasn't aware that I did, but thank you.
Well, I've been watching you do this work before. You have a good general background in jewelry, I know, like repair and things like that, but your particular skill is in wax carving. How did you acquire this skill?
Well, I was trained at another company. I started about 10 years ago. Actually, I started just doing repairs and sizing and filing of castings and eventually moved on to this.
May I see that?
Mm-hmm, certainly.
Thank you.
It's just a very rough outline right now.
So you're sawing out this outline, and then you're going to carve something into this?
Yes, then I'll start filing it with this heavy-duty file to get the general shape. Eventually, after it's cast, it'll look like this. Which is what it's going to be, another leaf like this one. I'm duplicating this heavy ring here.
You're using that as a model?
Yes, this is the model. This is what I'm going to duplicate in gold. And so far, this is what I've got. I've got the one leaf, and I've got the base. And I used this wax wire here on the sides. See, I made the base starting with a piece like this.
Yes.
Measured it, cut it out, made the correct hole, the hole the correct size.
Yes.
And then to put this edging on, I used this wax wire. And that's how I made this base, which is eventually going to look like that.
That's right. And that is a beautiful leaf that you've done there. And there's obviously quite a bit of artistry involved in it. Do you feel that you need an innate sense of an aesthetic sense, an artistic sense in order to do this kind of work?
Yes, I really do. You have to be able to visualize something, to imagine what it would look like from basically nothing. With this, I have exactly what I'm going to do, but sometimes you just get an idea. And it helps to be able to have some kind of imagination.
Well, where do a customer walks in the front door here and goes up and says, I want something like this, only different.
That's generally what they usually say.
And what I would like to see is I would like to see this and that and the other. But you never actually meet the customer.
Not too often, no.
So who is it then who interfaces with the customer and can come over here and describe what is needed so that you can carry a picture in your mind of what it is that you have to do?
Well, the salespeople in the front are very good at what they do, and they can generally get enough information from the customer so that I can figure out exactly what they want. We have quite a few samples up there also, so if they can look at a sample and say, well, I'd like it just like this, except that I want this piece to go that way, and then I can take it from there. Sometimes I have to talk to them, usually to explain, why something is done a certain way.
I see. So the vast majority of pieces are what we might call variations on a theme by Marcy. Right?
Well, yes.
How long is it going to take you to complete that wax model?
Well, we've given an estimate of 8 hours, and so far I have about 5 hours on it. Really, there's not a whole lot left to do. Cutting out this leaf doesn't really take that long, and then I'll just it'll go back into casting, and it'll be cast, and then I'll file it up, and it'll be polished, and I'll put both the leaves on.
Yes.
Now, all these little swirls that you see here are made out of wire, so I'll just be using wire to bend them around and solder them on. I won't make them out of wax. So I imagine it will probably take the full 8 hours, but I don't think it'll go over that.
And when it's finished, it will look in gold, like the model. What's the stone that's going in there?
Oh, that's a turquoise. And it gets a rim around it, just like this. I'll have to saw all those little teeth out, and then it'll fit on top.
Yes.
But it'll have the rim around it.
It's for a man, is it?
Yes, it's quite a large ring. It's a size 11. And then the leaf will come up like that. and then all the little swirls that you see.
Yeah.
I made it just a little smaller than this,
Yes.
just so it won't be quite so massive and so heavy.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much, Marcy, for giving me your time like this.
Certainly.
And I'll leave you to get on with it. Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Koop Diamond Cutters is not just concerned with the high-quality manufacture of individual jewelry items, but is also concerned with batch manufacture. Now, this batch manufacture might be of such items as graduation class rings for the year of '83, or other items in general and popular use. These are all done not on an individual basis, but by this batch molding technique here. Now, this young girl here is about to shoot hot wax under pressure into the mold. Now, she already has one which has previously been molded, and she opens it, removes the model from inside, and hands it to Ken. Ken, you would inspect this, I take it, to see that it complied with all the requirements.
Right. Have to have all the prongs up and all the detail must be there before I'll go ahead and okay it and have it invested for casting.
Okay, if it had a flaw in it, you would toss it back into the vat, remelt it, and go through the routine again.
Right.
I noticed that this wax is different from the wax used in the individual carving procedures that go on over there. It kind of feels different.
Right, this is a softer wax. It has plastic in it too, a combination of plastic and wax, so it's pliable, so you can get out of the mold. If it's too brittle, and when you try to pull it out of the rubber, it would just break to pieces.
Ah, I see. You don't adopt any different procedures with the baking out of this wax?
No, it all bakes out the same.
All bakes out in the same way?
Yes.
I wonder if we could see one of these put into an investment flask and made ready for casting.
Sure.
Now, you have 3 rings stuck in there. How did they get into there in the first place?
If you have a heating iron, this one is what you do is you make a little hole into it and then set the ring in and just kind of run around it real quick to make sure it's anchored down there. Otherwise, when you pour the investment in, it has a tendency to float up.
I see. Okay. I wonder if we can take a look at that goop that you mixed up there. Now, that is the same kind of molding compound as is used by a dentist, isn't it?
Correct.
And the reason that you use it here is because you need to retain the fine detail of the wax model.
Right. When the wax burns out, I have to have an exact replica.
A kind of a negative of what...
Right.
So, can we watch you just making this mold? Now, how long will that take to set?
Use about 5 minutes, it'll be hard. And then you have to do is pull the bottom off of it. Then you have the tube.
And that displays all the little holes that,
Right.
through which the gold is going to go in and the wax is going to burn out.
Correct.
But you have to vacuum that first before you actually let it dry out under normal circumstances.
To get all the air bubbles out of it.
And that, thus you will retain the fine detail.
Correct.
Well, coming back just for a moment to one of these molds that we saw before. When these are made, one would think that the normal procedure would be to take a knife and just slice it down the middle. But in fact, of course, it's fatal to do that because you will then get a casting mark around the edge of whatever it is you're casting.
Right, it has to be cut so it fits really securely.
So it is.
If it's crooked at that, you're going to have gold or wax flashing in different directions.
So you key it. It is actually keyed. Whoever slices these open does it with a very sharp knife and arranges it so that it will only go back in one particular exact way.
Right.
And that's another feature of maintaining the quality of the product.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much, Ken.